Hello, everybody, and welcome to another recording. Today, we will be reacting to SCP 5733 Knife Scream Cut to Black. Judging by the thumbnail, it looks like we're going to be witnessing somebody's murder, so without further ado, let's get it started.
Tonight, you stay at home, watching a horror movie that you find quite interesting. The movie's plot follows protagonist Heather Campbell preparing to host a party at her family's residence, located in a dead end of the suburb while her parents are away. The date of the party is the same day with the massacre at the same place 10 years ago.
Interesting.
The killings were committed by an unknown assailant, dubbed the suburb slasher by locals and media in the aftermath. During the party, the suburb slasher returns to the area and proceeds to stalk and murder all 5 of the friends Heather has invited over, and a police officer who visits here on a routine drive-by. The killer's identity remains a mystery throughout the film.
Alright, just to let you know, this was done by somebody called SCP Animation, and so far, their animation is really good. I'm liking this one as yet. So, I mean, they got good details on the muscles and everything, so let's keep this going.
They wear a black burlap sack over their face and black loose-fitted overalls, and do not speak at any point of the movie's duration. At the 95th minute, Heather discovers her friend's corpses staged in her living room. The killer appears at the other side of the room and begins to chase Heather. Heather runs into the house basement and locks the door behind her.
What I have learned from watching murder mysteries and horror movies, never go to the basement. That's like one of the worst places you could ever be. Especially if it's not well lit. Don't ever go to the basement.
Once secure in the basement, Heather suddenly turns to the camera and says a variation of the following speech.
Hey, I don't know you, and I don't know why you've just sat there watching this with doing nothing, but please, I'm begging you, help me out
knows.
Here. What can I do to survive this?
Yes, she tries to contact with you, the watcher of the movie. Now you are her savior, trying to help her escape from the killers. So what is your plan?
The pressure.
What you just experienced is the SCP-5733, a VHS tape cassette containing a recording of the horror movie Return of the Suburb Slasher, which was, according to the cassette slipcase, produced by Crystal Elms Productions in 1983. In the film, the viewer of SCP-5733 can directly converse with SCP-5733-2, known as Heather, and advise her on how to escape from SCP-5733-1, the killer. Heather will only converse with the viewer on the aforementioned topic. If the viewer ignores Heather or attempts to talk to her on other topics, she, in a resigned manner, will walk back up the basement stairs, unlock and open the door. The killer will be waiting directly outside the door. The film will then cut to black, and SCP-5733 ejects itself from the machine on which it is being played. The tape has the length of 97 minutes, ending with Heather locking herself in the basement. After 97 minutes, the course of the movie then depends on the conversations held with Heather and the viewer. Despite extensive testing, Heather has yet to escape from the killer. The killer often seems to display advanced knowledge of the viewer's recommendations and advised course of action, and uses this to preemptively sabotage escape attempts. A series of tests are arranged and deployed by lead researcher Dr. Carpenter. In the first test, Heather is asked if she has a car. She responds in the affirmative. She was told to sneak back upstairs, find the keys to the car, exit by the back door, and drive as far away from here as possible.
Okay.
Heather successfully manages to obtain the car keys and leave the residence without encountering the killer. However, when she reaches her car, she finds the tires have been slashed and begins to panic. Heather is told to smash the window of her neighbor's cars and unlock the door. After some convincing, Heather does so, and is guided through the process of hot wiring a car.
For the record, I am not that smart, but It's like, wow, you... Sorry, that's my folks laughing in the background. But it's like, come. Wow.
Car successfully started.
I
Heather
hate mobile
laughs and
films
begins
as it
to drive
is.
away. As she is on the way out, the killer leans up from where it was hid on the back seat of the car.
No!
The killer brandishes a kitchen knife. Heather screams. The tape cuts to black.
Oh, I hate
In the
surprises
second
like
test,
that.
Heather is
Oh.
told to retrieve her father's shotgun, which is shown at the 25-minute mark of SCP-5733, and use this to eliminate the killer.
Whoa.
Heather sneaks up to her parents' bedroom and retrieves the gun. At that point, the camera reveals the killer.
Hold on, they said shotgun. That looks more like a 9mm. Unless they have multiple kinds of guns. Maybe I heard that wrong. Let's just go back a moment there.
Retrieve her father's shotgun, which is shown at the 25-minute mark of SCP-5733, and use this to eliminate the killer. Heather sneaks up to her parents' bedroom and retrieves the gun. At that point, the camera reveals the killer stood in the bedroom doorway. Heather aims the gun and pulls the trigger, yet nothing happens as the gun is not loaded. The killer holds up his right hand and opens his palm.
Oh, no.
The shotgun's shells fall out. The killer brandishes a kitchen knife and approaches Heather. Heather screams. The tape cuts to black.
How in the world are you supposed to beat this guy then? I mean, seriously. It's like nothing you do. It's like he's like God, he can foresee the future.
In the third
Let's just
test,
keep it going.
Heather is told that resistance against the killer is useless, and that she should use a pair of garden shears in the basement to commit suicide. Heather responds that this is not an option, and begins to sob. After 10 minutes, Heather stands up from the floor, walks up the basement stairs, and opens the door. The killer is stood outside waiting. The tape cuts to black. Before the fourth test, a thorough analysis of Heather's skills and mind has been conducted. It is believed that her best course of action will be to obtain assistance from others. Heather is recommended to go from house to house in the area in an attempt to find neighbors who could aid her. Heather left the basement and house without incident and went to the residence of Mr. Loomis, her next-door neighbor. Upon arrival, she found the door ajar and lights off.
Never a good
Creeping
sign.
through the house, Heather discovers Mr. Loomis sleeping in the bed. On attempting to wake him, Heather discovers that he is dead, with his throat slit. Suddenly, a big hand underneath the bed drags her down. It is the killer. Heather screams. The tape cuts to black. In the fifth test...
Okay, please put your input down in the comments below. I really want to know what you guys think. If you're in this situation, if you're trying to help this woman out, what are you going to do? What suggestion would you recommend for this woman? Just let me know in the comments below. I'm not very good at these kind of puzzles. I need your help. Tell me in below what you think this woman's course of action should be. Please. Just tell me.
Heather is explained about SCP Foundation, an organization which may be able to help her, and that she should try to call for help from the house phone. She is given a covert Foundation phone number in operation in the year 1983. Heather emerges from the basement and makes her way to the kitchen where the landline telephone is located. Upon reaching it, Heather finds that the phone has been destroyed, and a note written in what appears to be blood has been impaled onto the wreckage
This
with a kitchen knife.
Wild.
It reads, "The only foundation here is fear." Suddenly, the killer appears behind her. The killer brandishes another kitchen knife. Heather screams. The tape cuts to black.
Dane. I hate ads, but still, Dane.
Editing my video with the War 9.
What kind of YouTube video?
Black.
Oh,
In the sixth
Murph.
test, 2 experienced field agents are selected for the test due to their knowledge of hand-to-hand combat techniques. They advise Heather to search the basement for supplies to see how long she can remain there. Once it has been established that a small amount of food and water are available, the agents begin to teach Heather fighting techniques. Heather is able to remain in the basement for a period of 112 hours before running out of supplies. During this time, the agents have delivered a basic introductory combat course to Heather. After finishing the course, Heather emerges from the basement and makes her way to the house's front door, where she is confronted by the killer. The two engage in hand-to-hand combat over a period of 23 minutes as they fight throughout the house. Heather is able to deploy the techniques taught to her by both agents, and at the conclusion of the fight, knocks the killer to the floor. Heather picks up a candlestick from the dining room table and prepares to attack the killer. Both her and the agent celebrate. As she raises the candlestick above her head, the camera pans to reveal a second killer instance creeping up from behind her.
No!
The instance leaps at
There
her.
is more than
The tape
one!
cuts to black. Dr. Carpenter decides to conduct the final test directly. He also makes some preparation before the test. He had his team prepare possible options through which Heather may be able to escape from the killer. This time, Dr. Carpenter doesn't want the killers to know his plan. He lets the random decide the way Heather to escape. Options were divided into 4 categories: what to take from the basement, where to go from the basement, how to exit the house, how to exit the area. Each of the 4 categories was to contain at least 20 options. On the day of the test, these options were printed out and placed into 4 plastic bowls correlating to the above categories. In addition to this, 3 cards reading face, body, and legs were created. On the day of the test, Dr. Carpenter began watching SCP-5733 at the 95th minute, 2 minutes before anomalous properties manifest. Research assistants placed the 4 bowls in front of him and the 3 cards face down. Dr. Carpenter starts to select an option in the first bowl, what to take from the basement, and informs Heather to arm herself with the pair of garden shears present in the basement and begins climbing the stairs to the exit. With no objections, Heather armed herself and began to climb. From the second bowl, where to go upon emerging from the basement, Dr. Carpenter selects an option and informs Heather to go to her upstairs bedroom, then come back down to the dining room. Heather followed the instructions given. There's no sight of the killer at this point of the test. Dr. Carpenter selects an option from the third bowl, how to exit the house. He tells Heather to sprint back upstairs and into her parents' bedroom, where she is to climb out of the window, onto the roof, and then drop down into the garden. Heather follows the instructions given. There is still no sight of the killer at this point of the test.
He's hiding somewhere. Oh god,
Dr.
he's hiding
Carpenter
somewhere.
selects an option from the fourth bowl. He informs Heather that she is to jump over the fence into her neighbor's garden, make her way to the front of the property, and run down the street until she finds help. Heather follows the instructions given and makes it to the road out of the dead end, which she proceeds to run down. The camera pans and the killer can be seen bursting out of the door of Heather's residence. Heather continues to flee, and the killer does not give chase. Heather begins to celebrate and is asked by Dr. Carpenter how far away the nearest police station is. Heather responds that she does not know, but that together they'll find it. The road out of the area is uninhabited.
Oh, he's gonna
The
circle
roads are
around.
lined
He's
by
gonna do
trees
something.
and the occasional streetlight. Heather continues running for a period of 20 minutes before she slows down to catch her breath. By this point, the trees have begun to grow scarce, yet only darkness can be seen beyond them. Heather asks Dr. Carpenter what she should do next. Dr. Carpenter responds that she should keep walking.
Just keep
An
walking,
hour
just keep
passes,
walking.
with the road remaining straight. There have been no other signs of life. Trees once again begin to populate the boundary of the road, growing in density the more time goes by. Heather comments that she can see lights and houses up ahead, and begins to speed up. As she approaches the houses, Heather begins to run and shout for help. When she arrives, she recognizes the location. She has arrived back at the same place where she lives. Panicked, Heather asks Dr. Carpenter what is happening. Before he has a chance to respond, the killer begins to approach Heather, brandishing a kitchen knife. Dr. Carpenter moves to the 3 cards set face down and picks one at random. Face. He yells at Heather to use the shears to attack the killer in the facial region. She dodges the first swing of the knife and successfully counterattacks. The burlap sack covering the killer's face rips. Dr. Carpenter turns over a second card and shouts instructions to attack the killer's legs.
Go for the kill.
Heather does so successfully, crippling the killer's movement. Dr. Carpenter goes to reach for the last card. As his fingers touch it, he realizes he already knows what it says as the last remaining card, body. He yells at Heather to attack the killer's torso and to attempt to land a critical blow to his heart or other vital organs. Heather does so, but the killer dodges the attack, grabs the shears from her, and pushes her to the ground. The camera tilts up, from Heather on the ground to the killer's face, only partially covered by the now damaged burlap sack. Dr. Carpenter approaches the television screen, staring at the killer. With the sack damaged, the killer's face can be seen, staring straight at the camera. The killer is a visually identical match to Dr. Carpenter. Heather screams.
Oh,
The tape cuts to
God,
black.
that's how he knows.
All testing has been suspended whilst investigations are underway into whether use of SCP...
So every time somebody takes over, tries to help this girl, it's like that. No. Every time you go to help this girl, the killer takes on your memories, basically. It basically knows what you're thinking. Oh, sweet mother of God.
P5733 by Foundation staff constitutes a data leak. A review of past test subjects' current and historic assignments is underway.
Oh, God. That's SCP Animation for you, but sweet. Sweet. Okay, I'm gonna say this was absolutely one of the more terrifying, I would say even more so than the Butcher Chariot. At least the Butcher Chariot was there to help people somewhat, but this is just straight psychopath. I don't know, is it predicting what the viewer's gonna do in the future? Is the videotape itself anomalous? Is this something that's going on in an alternate dimension and somehow Catherine is able to see you? I don't know. Please, if you think of anything that could help this girl out, let me know in the comments below. This will be Awesome Indoraptor signing out for the time being.